Okay, so I didn't lie. I changed my mind. There's a big difference. Don't go away. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fat Guy Productions. I am Paul, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. No, I didn't lie to you. I showed you that I was going to use this casting to be the race car for the trailer, the race team trailer. But look at this thing. It's beautiful. It's in great condition. I cannot do that. I cannot destroy this car. So it's not happening. Okay? And it was just, I guess I just wasn't paying enough attention to realize how nice this was. So I went on Fleabay and I found this guy. He's not terrible, but he's a little moldy looking. And he could be redone. He could be kept the same, but he could also be redone, and I won't feel bad about it in the least. So this is the casting we're going to be doing. Let's get to work. So before we get started, let me first apologize for these early initial shots. I know they're sucky, but you all know that I'm buying a new house and moving in June, and as such, I have this weird mental block. It's really hard for me to start projects, okay? Because I don't know, it just feels weird. I don't know. So I haven't been upstairs doing a lot of stuff. So when I went up to do these, I made a couple mistakes. First of all, I forgot to center the cameras, and second of all, you'll notice in some footage, I forgot to turn off the air conditioning unit, and the microphones always pick that up when I'm not talking, and you can hear it going whenever I'll say, "Hi, how you doing today?" And it's really annoying, so let me apologize. But anyhow, let's get to work on this Lotus Turbine. And as I said, I lied a little bit. I'm not using that red one because it's just too stinking nice. I got another one, and we're using that. And we've got it apart, and we're slapping it into the stripper. So we'll put that aside, and we'll get to work. So if you're in a hurry, Citrus Strip really makes short work of Spectraflame paints. I mean, it can have it off in about an hour. So you can pull it pretty quickly. I routinely don't, okay? I leave it anywhere from a few hours to overnight. But once I've plucked it out and washed it off, I always go ahead and give it a quick cleanup with my brass bristle brush. And this is just to remove any little flecks of paint that are still on there and to kind of unify the piece that I'm working with so I can really get an honest look at what I have to deal with. A new thing I've been doing is I've been hitting up the bodies and the bases with these little, they're like Scotch-Brite wheels for my rotary tool. And they take off so much grub and grime and are really helping me obtain all sorts of new levels of high shine on my projects. So I really like doing this before I turn to the Flitz. Once I've hit it up with the Scotch-Brite wheel, and by the way, that's the mild one, okay? Don't use anything more aggressive or you'll scratch all your stuff up. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and turn to Flitz, and I've just got a polishing wheel on my rotary tool, and I put some Flitz on the base, and I just kind of smear it around, and I'll do the exact same thing with the body. The trick here is to make sure you come at this from a lot of different angles, because, okay, think about it. If you have a 90-degree bend and you always come at it from one direction, you may not get into that corner, okay? So by turning the piece around and moving the brush around, you have a better chance of getting every area of the base, and consistency is key. Once I'm done with the rotary tool, I'll take it with a microfiber towel. I always use the lumpy side for this part. And then you just buff the heck out of this, and you should get some magnificent results. Now, I learned about Renaissance wax while I was doing coin rings, and I may not be done with that completely, but, who knows what the future may hold. But Renaissance wax is a microcrystalline wax. It's a museum-grade product that they use to slow tarnishing of, like their jewels and stuff like that. So, hey, what better than this to use on Hot Wheels, unpainted parts like bases and things like that, bases and engines and stuff like that. And all you got to do is get some on your finger and just smear it in good. Make sure you get every little area, and if you need to, you could take like a soft bristle toothbrush and really kind of work it in to make sure you get it in all the nooks and crannies. And then when you're done, I just take the microfiber towel and I buff it off. All right, so it's paint booth time, and for this casting, because this is a custom made to go with the race team, it's getting an unusual paint job, something you won't find on the Lotus Turbine anywhere. I'm giving it an opaque white. I'm using the opaque white paint from the Redline Shop, and I'm going to make this car match up with the whole race team series. And frankly, it makes you wonder what Mattel was thinking that they never made a race car specific to this set. That seems odd. I mean, they had race cars. They had the race team. All they had to do was just use different tampos and paint and voila la loom. I just don't get it. But we're going to fix that today. And so we're going to use this opaque white. First, I put down a nice white primer. I used white primer to make sure that the white paint would pop. And now we're just laying down our paint. Okay, it's decal time. And first off, it needs the blue stripe with the yellow stars. Okay, it's on like almost all of the race team products, and so it's got to be on the race car. So out of the decal sheet that I printed with my iColor laser, I'm going to cut out one of these stripes. But then I had a notion, and this is just a little bit of a crazy idea. Maybe I could mix and match some decals. So I'm going to get this stripe out, and then I'm going to go on the hunt. So I'm in my decal stash, and there's not one part of me that doesn't think I have Lotus decals. So that's what I'm looking for, because there we have it, Lotus decals. Look at that, the number 70 plate, okay? Not to mention the number 70 plate, but this particular decal sheet has a bunch of fun side decals, including the number 70 and some sponsor decals. So I'm going to mix and match my printed decals with these ones. So that should come out really, really cool. So one stripe is more than enough to do the front and back of the car. So I just kind of laid it out, made sure it's going to look right, which I think it is going to look fabulous. And then we can go ahead and get ready to start laying decals down on this casting. Now it's important, and I'm gonna tell you something when I get to the clear coat stage, because I'm gonna make a huge mistake in this casting, and we'll talk about that later. But it is important before you put the decals down to make sure your paint is really, really dry. I had this drying for like 3 days, and I spent like several hours on the drying lamp just as added insurance. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a few drops of water on the body, and then we can go ahead and lay our first piece of striping down on the front of the car. I'm sure by now you know the whole thing on water slide decals. You soak them until they release, and then you can just slide the backing paper out and lay the decal right there on your casting. Now, I made this a little bit too long, and I'm going to do something that I would not recommend you do unless you have an amazing pair of scissors. Okay? I'm going to trim this down a hair. You got to make sure that your scissors are really top flight for this, or you may make the situation worse, okay? So if you do need to trim it, make sure you have some scissors that are going to snip that off without making a big mess. Anyhow, so I did that. I trimmed it down a little bit, and now I'm going to go ahead and position it and roll the ends of it. And I'll use a little bit of Walther's decal setting solution to make sure that these go around the corners and settle down really nicely. So once I'm happy with the positioning of the front stripe, I can turn my attention to the back one, and it's all the same thing. A couple drops of water on the back, soak the decal, move it a little bit, and just slide it off onto the casting. Now what I did with this back one is I kind of cut a little curved piece in the end, and I did that because, you know, it's got that little turbine intake there, and so I cut a little, like a curvy notch in it, so it would fit up right up against that really nicely, and that worked out fantastic. I'm very happy I did that. And then we just go ahead and position the decal, get it in place, and just double check your line of sight and make sure that the back decal is in the same plane as the front one. Otherwise, it's going to show up bad. All right, I let the decals dry. And what I had to do is I actually had to let the first layer dry. Then I put on the second layer because I was putting decals over decals. I put those Lotus decals over my decals so that I'd get the effect I wanted. And I needed to make sure I couldn't mess up the first layer. So I put the first layer down, let it dry. Then I put down the second layer. Then I let it dry. And now we can turn to the paint booth and seal it all up with clear coat. Mist coat to lock it in, and then some nice, beautiful wet coats to give it that deep, glossy finish. It's going to look great. So I told you earlier that I had a problem, and here it is. The clear coat bubbled right around that number 70. This is something I had a problem with before, and I thought I had the problem figured out. But now I think it's something else. I thought it was just the way I was applying the clear coat, but that's not the case. What it is, I believe, is because I layered the decals. And I'm thinking back to the cars that had problems, and I think they all had layered decals. And what I'm thinking is happening is I'm not letting them dry long enough because the layers are trapping moisture between them. So that is coming out once the clear coat is on, because it only happens where the decals are. So it's clearly something that has to do with the decals. So I think it's because I layered decals. I put these Lotus number 70s and stuff right over the stripes, and that's exactly where the problem is. So I'm sure it has something to do with the layering, and I'm absolutely positive it must be that I'm not letting them dry long enough. So maybe I need to really let these dry a lot longer, put them on the heat lamp, whatever I have to do to make sure that there isn't one bit of moisture left between the layers before I put the clear coat in. I really thought I was leaving it long enough. So I thought about what to do here, and I think I can color sand them out. So I'm using a microfiber, I think it's a 2000 grit sanding sponge, and I'm wet sanding the hood down. Now see how I'm pulling my finger across the decal? I need a little dry patch so I can see if I've sanded enough. By pulling my finger across, I get a dry spot, and if I see shiny parts, I know I haven't sanded enough. Once all the shiny parts are gone, I'm good to go. One of the tricks here is to also be really, really careful of your edges, because you can sand through an edge really, really fast. See, now I pulled my thumb across it. I'm looking to check my work, and I should see nothing but a nice, smooth, flat, dull surface. Then, when I'm done, I can re-clear coat this, and it should come out great. So I think I've got it. I'm drying the car off, and I'm just examining it, and that is looking about right. I believe I dodged a bullet and saved this whole project. So we're going to let this dry, and then we can put clear coat over it again. We had a little problem right here. All right, so once the new clear coat is on and dry, the car looks amazing. It really does. It looks fantastic, and everything came out great. Whew, that was close. Now we can put this casting together. Now, I did have a lot of issues with the glass. The glass piece I had, the top edge was pretty chewed up, and that's pretty common with this casting. I had a new piece of glass, but I don't know if it was actually for this casting. It didn't seem to fit well, and so I didn't want to use that. And so I went through my stash, and I eventually found a piece of glass I was happy with, and all I ended up having to do was polish it out with some Flitz and put a little gauzy on it, and we were good to go. But yeah, it was an effort. Somebody used to carry glass for this car, but I just couldn't find any this time. So, you know, it is what it is. I found a piece of glass I was happy with. A lot of times what you can do is you can just sand down the top edge, get it smooth, and when you dip it in the gauzy, it'll come out looking really good. And the original piece would have worked. I just wasn't happy with it. I was being persnickety. So anyhow, we'll get this thing screwed together, and that should be it. Oh. Hey, put the wheels on this thing. Like I said, that should have been it. Oh, no time like the present. Let's see, we need some large and mediums. Style. Well, like I said, this whole moving thing has my mind just all askew. So let's go ahead and get this done. I'm going to cut these wheels away because they are hub style, and I don't want to accidentally, especially at this point, I don't want to damage those hubs. So I'm going to use my nippers, and I'm going to nip these wheels away, and they're pretty dried out, and they're crumbling pretty easily. So I'll nip these things away, being careful not to damage the hubs. And then once I have these off, I can go ahead and get my new hub-style wheels and press them into place. And I got these from Brightvision, the best wheels ever. Love them. And so we just press them on, and now we can say we're done. Let's take a look and see what we've got. right, there you have it. My race car for the race team. They didn't make a race car for it. I don't understand that. They made the whole race team, but they did not make a race car. So we took the Lotus Turbine and made one for Mattel because I don't know why they didn't make one. And I think this works really fantastic and it's going to look great on the trailer. So I'm super excited to have this as an addition to my collection. I really do love it. I hope you loved the video. If you did, please give it a giant thumbs up, click subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss one of my videos. As always, if you have any questions or comments, put them down below because I do love to hear from you. Now, in the next video, we're going to wrap up this whole series with the last piece of the puzzle, and then at the end of that video is going to be a full, complete set of glamour shots of the entire race team in action. So, anyhow, that's it for today. I hope the rest of your day is wonderful and just filled with exciting, fun new things. Until next time, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions saying, be good.